Hey, guys. Red Marble here. Have hope, have hope.
What up? What up? What up? What up?
Guys. This is our pre-recorded
Yeah,
um Spider-Man No Way Home spoiler-filled discussion
yeah. So,
between
guys,
me and my boy.
if you
Uh
haven't watched the film, don't watch this thing. Again, I repeat,
don't.
because there are a lot of losers out there. If you have not watched the film, do not watch this video. Only watch this video if you have seen the film.
I want to emphasize that again. This is a spoiler discussion. We can't say any clearer. It's a spoiler discussion. And also
And people will
avoid
be
the
like,
comments.
are
Avoid
you sure? I mean, is it really? How spoilery is it really? What does spoiler really mean?
very spoilery. With some of the stuff we're talking about, very spoilery. And
Yeah,
avoid
guys,
the
look, it's a
comments. Avoid
spoiler
the
thing. Yeah.
comments as well, guys. Please avoid the comments if you want to avoid the
Yes,
spoilers.
yes, because there are guys out there who are openly trying to spoil it for guys. So basically, if you have not watched the film, you shouldn't even be on YouTube. But wait,
Yeah.
did you hear about how apparently like Variety uploaded the whole film in 4K on YouTube? I was
Wow.
like, what? No, because I think it was Wise saying that apparently like the whole thing was uploaded on YouTube by mistake in 4K. What? How do you upload something by mistake in 4K
I'm sure there's
Ultra
someone
HD?
someone's ripped that. Someone's ripped that already and downloaded it. There's
No.
just
But I think someone along we'd have to have a discussion about just again because we're of a similar age about how things have changed with regards to the film going experience and
yeah.
how much more easy it is to spoil a film now than it was back like in the 90s or the 80s. So
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, let's get stuck into it. I mean,
yeah, let's go.
obviously this was a highly anticipated, one of the most anticipated movies of the year. Um, for those obviously
Okay, actually, no.
go on.
So
Yeah, go on.
you said anticipate. Okay, what was your anticipation for? Because I know what mine was for and why I
Mm.
was anticipated towards it. So why were you anticipated towards this? For what reasons? Because we can go spoiler. So what were the reasons that you were
Yeah.
anticipated for this?
Yeah, okay. So I mean, like, I think the first thing is that what I've tried doing recently, things for movies that I'm anticipated for is I avoid a lot of trailers. So I only watched the first trailer, which showed Doc Ock, the first extension one, and I didn't watch any other trailers since then. So that was one thing. I think the key thing with this to me was a few things. One, seeing how the movie would deal with the big revelation of Spider-Man's identity to the public. So that was one thing. How they handle that. I'm going to talk about that a bit later because that was potentially one of the small issues I had with the movie. Second, in that trailer, seeing Doc Ock, I was like, whoa, okay, what are the possibilities here? The rumors of hearing Tobey Maguire I was like, okay, they're probably going to be in the movie, maybe not going to be in the movie. I don't know. That kind of, let's see what happens, nice surprise type of thing. And then third, what it actually meant for the whole multiverse thing, because as we talked about, like in when we were talking about Loki
WandaVision
and
and
WandaVision
Loki.
and Kang and all the rest of it, it was like, how is this movie going to tie into the whole multiverse? What does it mean? So that was kind of why it was. There were a lot of questions that I wanted answered going into this movie, and that was the main reason. What about you?
You see, I'll be real with you. Like the whole thing with the Doc Ock, because now this movie I find it's crazy. I've never watched Spider-Man, the first one.
As in the first movie or
Yeah.
the second?
Never seen it all the way through. And Spider-Man 2, I watched way afterwards. And I don't see Spider-Man 3. Because for me, I already knew that. Now this for me, and this may sound crazy, for me it was trash. As a Spider-Man fan, reading the comics and loving the Fox cartoon show, that Sam Raimi thing, I was like, nah, this ain't it. So for me, I was just completely out of it. So for me, Goblin and Doc Ock wasn't a big deal for me because I was not a fan of those films.
Okay.
When I saw them there, and the moment I heard of the possibility of Garfield and Maguire, I was like, they're going to be in it.
Yeah.
So my excitement was, see, Garfield is the best actor to play Spider-Man. He just had a moron and a brick called Mark Webb, who's a class A brick from Siberia, who made trash films. But his performance as Spider-Man, for me, it's the best performance. So I was like, wow. Garfield in this and the novelty of Tobey Maguire in this within you.
Yeah.
That's a pretty crazy. So that concept is why I said, oh no, I've got to just see how they handle that. So that is what, and for me, the moment you saw Doc Ock and Green Goblin, I'm like, Sony and Thing are working together. What's the point of working together if you can't do, hey, let's just bring in all of our characters together in one?
Yeah.
I was like, of course it's going to happen. So yeah.
Fair. I mean, let's. I mean, I want to try and like break this down because I was talking before, like just going
Like
through the movie,
chronological,
kind of step by in chronological order. So I think, obviously, you've got Tom Holland and Zendaya, who actually think acted. Actually, this was probably a best acting performance.
Yeah, because it's when because I like what she's doing with the character, but she seems sort of lost in the two films. It seems she was just sort of like an afterthought in the two films.
Yeah.
And again, maybe it's an issue we'll get into with the whole trilogy, but yeah, this is definitely where her character's really.
There was just a lot more chemistry between her,
Yeah.
like genuine chemistry, where like you felt the relationship.
But you know that they're actually
yeah,
And maybe
so
that actually
actually helped in the combination thing. So no, I get that. But I mean, the first time, obviously, for those, because obviously this is spoilers. This is a spoiler. So I don't know why we're saying the spoilers. Basically, this comes up with the aftermath of Mysterio revealing the identity to the world, and then J. Jonah Jameson, he's a dick, basically. He's basically for the whole movie. Actually, you keep on getting.
No, but because he's always been obsessed with Spider-Man, and he always hates Spider-Man, so he's obsessed.
So I got to give it to I forget the actor's name.
What was it called? J.K. Simmons.
J.K. Simmons. Like he does like for the role, he does a fantastic job. He's
he's a quality actor. The guy's an amazing actor.
I can't think of a different J. Jonah Jameson than him because he just does it to a T. So this whole act, and you kind of see him, you see him kind of trying to deal with that. I think there are a few things. One, I did feel the start of it was quite slow, but slow in a sense that I was like, okay, how are they going to handle the fact that his identity is revealed to the world? Like in the comics, it's like, oh, his family's in danger, or this and that. Whereas here, it was like he's now a celebrity. I was like, why is he even going into school? Like, what? There were a few things that I was like, dude, what are you looking at?
You see, I've seen people complain about that, but bro, Red, like, this is MCU. It's Disney. Did you? Because again, what should happen is, oh, this is now an issue, and your life completely changes because you're now blamed for many people's deaths, and now you as Peter Parker, because it's now been revealed, your whole life changes. So the way you operate is messed up, and how this, which is why, for me, the theme of this whole review will be: this isn't a great film, but it's a vibes film. Okay. This film is vibes. It is an amazing vibes film, but as a film in a structural sense, it's not actually a very good film. Like how this should go. The first half is he's almost on the run.
Yeah.
He's almost on the run. I now seen the ramifications of him revealing himself.
The only thing I would say say that now that I'm thinking about it is that, like, is it just because this Spider-Man doesn't have like particularly because if you think about it, aside from Vulture, who's in some prison somewhere, this Spider-Man doesn't really have any Spider-Man villains.
No.
For his own, and the thing with me with Tom Holland, or why I do think that this is his best Tom Holland movie to date, and the best one to date for the Tom Holland trilogy, so it ended well. Is that for the two movies, it felt that the dude was basically he got everything handed to him. Like he never really suffered as a Spider-Man for me, which is for me the core of Spider-Man. So I can understand that him revealing his identity, puts more attention on himself and his family. But really, how many villains really would be going after? He doesn't have a villain arsenal.
Basically, and that's the point, is because that's ending of Far From Home. You see, for me, it didn't. Which is why I didn't know why you were thinking of something different. Because even when I saw that ending, it didn't hit hard for me. I was like, oh, okay, because. As far as the two films have gone, okay, they know his identity, and so what? In the world they've created,
Yeah.
What would the ramifications be?
Cases be
But
exactly.
if you go via what Spider-Man should be, by the time you go to the second film, he's got several villains out there. Because
Yeah,
this is a guy who
exactly.
has many villains. So if you didn't know his identity, bro,
Yeah.
okay, who's Peter Parker's home? Where's his parents?
Yeah.
Aunt May, get out of the freaking country. Go
Yeah,
in
yeah.
witness protection because they're
Yeah.
not going to come after you and after the people I now love.
Yeah.
So the ramifications would be all those villains are now going to find that everyone that Peter Parker loves and everything. So, but
Yeah.
the two
There's
films you've
stakes.
seen,
It's
okay, they know something. Okay, so what? And what?
It's stakes basically. It's
Yeah.
stakes. There were no real, and this was the thing with this movie was that like it was only really for me from the midpoint onwards, and we'll go talk about things because I want to talk about positive stuff about me because from obviously the fans' point of view, but also a few key themes that I was like, I'm glad that they did that and I touched on that as well as the things going forward. But I think the thing about this movie is that I think it was only really from the midpoint onwards that I was like, okay, now I'm seeing the stakes. Now I'm seeing what's up. And I think part of the problem with some of the Tom Holland movies beforehand is that the stakes have not really been that or felt to be that high.
No.
And really in this movie, it was like from the midpoint on, it was like, whoa, okay, it's getting real now. Like I don't know what's going to happen. This, and we're going to talk about it later. I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't expect a certain death of someone to happen. I didn't expect that. I was like, because that's the MCU. Because in my mind, I was like, it's the MCU. They wouldn't. And she's a lady and a woman, and no, it's our mate. Like, no.
Which is why, and that's the frustrating thing because if you had built up this character properly, where he had more agency, he isn't Ant-Man's bitch, and he has more villains.
Which, to be fair, he wasn't in this movie. I think he was more of a standalone Spider-Man. Because the positive thing about
but it's a whole pie.
Yeah,
this film is going off the coattails of the first two. A trilogy, everything is interconnected. This film can't work by itself. This film works in conjunction with part 1 and part 2. So we can't negate those other two parts.
No,
so as much, he had the most. He was the most Spider-Man he's ever been in this thing.
Exactly.
But it's maybe it's a little too late because it's like I can't just ignore the two films where you're literally Iron Man's side piece. So if he was more Spider-Man and so forth, that ending has way more stakes.
Okay.
But because it's the MCU, you've got to bring in Iron Man, Strange, everything has got to be integrated and so forth. And that's what I said. I see the MCU, there's a good and the bad. The good about the MCU is that, wow, this is actually a pretty cool thing of a continuous storyline, which is cool. Because they've now brought the idea of the comics into now films where, wow, these are so that's a cool idea. But the negativity is each film loses its individuality. Because each film is dependent on this massive, huge picture. So each film can't breathe by itself.
I think there's some movies that were done where you feel like you don't necessarily
Captain
need
America.
Exactly. But you're right. I think one of the questions with the MCU now that we're feeling is that like it's almost gets to the point where you can't just jump into it. And that's where I think DC will have their advantage in that respect with their standalone movies because you can just watch them.
No, because do you know Forward, the Chelsea fan?
Yeah.
So he was asking that okay, I'm thinking of watching this No Way Home. Do I have to watch the previous films, or how many films do I have to watch to enjoy it? And I wasn't sure how to answer him because I was like, yeah, look, it's enjoyable.
You can make it. You can make a case that you probably have to watch all of the Spider-Man movies. Not just the MCU ones, but also the Tobey Maguire ones and the Andrew Garfield ones, because you're like, who's this?
And I can even speak for myself. I am sure that the Green Goblin, as much as Green Goblin stole the show, it would have hit harder if I actually watched that film when it came out, which I didn't.
Yeah.
So that would have 100% would have affected people differently. Basically, reason why I didn't care about seeing Doc Ock or Green Goblin because I never liked those films. But people who will like those films and everything, the experience will be far richer for them than those who didn't watch the films or didn't really grow up with those films. So
let's quickly move on to something that because this also maybe I'd heard that it might be a possibility, but I forgot about it or didn't really clock on. So when I saw it in the cinema, I was like, okay, they're doing that. And I've you noticed it's this.
Oh yeah, like bro, do you know what funny? All the leaks were true. Every single leak
Every single leak was true.
Every single leak was true. Like,
but this one in particular, I was like, yeah, but I think with this one, I was like, they teased it before.
Have you heard what's happening?
See, the thing is, I've not watched Hawkeye yet.
Okay, so you know nothing about Hawkeye?
No. I'm gonna actually watch it over the weekend.
Okay, lips are sealed.
Lips are
sealed.
But I haven't. But the impression from what I've seen is that they're introducing certain of those Netflix characters in the movie.
Because remember when it was happening, they always said that no, Netflix is separate.
Yeah, exactly.
And MC is separate. That's they're not going to conjunction. Then when Netflix then cancelled all the shows, like, oh, bro, what's going to happen?
Exactly.
So I think what they're probably going to do now is, all right, we have to, because these guys were so popular on Netflix, it would be stupid not to incorporate them into this world now. And also, like SpiderMan, what's it called? It's Daredevil, it's Punisher, it's Kingpin. These are his guys.
Yeah,
these are always because they're all in New York. So
exactly. I mean, the only thing I had an issue with this sort of cameo is that one, he could have done a bit more, but two, it's one. This is another criticism I'm having, and I did like this movie. Don't get me wrong, I like this movie, and we'll talk about it later. But I know I don't like sometimes.
Why wasn't he the lawyer?
Sorry?
Why wasn't he the lawyer trying to defend him or so forth? Why was he just in one scene? He's a really good lawyer. So why don't you have like a segment of the film where Daredevil is now the lawyer of Spider-Man?
Exactly. So it's like, if that's what I was getting to, like it felt like with him being there, it was just a kind of see. So they do this in a frustration because like, okay, I'm happy that I'm seeing, but it's like it's a small Easter egg, and then you're supposed to be like, oh wow, but unlike when movies like, for example, Arcane for example, is we'll talk about at some point. It's like, I've never played League of Legends, but I can imagine that there are League of Legends fans who have noticed Easter eggs while watching Arcane. But they didn't do it in a way where they were like, see, remember this from the part of the game? Remember this? Remember that?
But this is a perfect example. If there are many people who've never watched the Daredevil series, so somebody who hasn't watched the Daredevil series doesn't read any of the Daredevil comics.
Exactly.
Like, what the hell is, like, for them, this scene will mean nothing for them.
Exactly.
So
the way they constructed it was like, oh, here he is. But if they did what you said, which was they go to a courtroom and you see him defending him and stuff like that, then yes, okay, maybe people will be like, oh, it's just his defendant. That's just obvious because he's in prison. Well, he's on trial. Whereas for the people that know him, they'll be like, oh wow, that's Daredevil. He's So it'd have been a lot more seamless than just here I am, I'm in a chair. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, no. For me, it's like the film was like 2.5 hours. So there's a lot to pack in. But for me, it's all about how you use your time. So if you take out all that MIT university moving to, if you just take out that stuff and now replace it with Daredevil and him on trial and him trying to now work a case and defend the case for him, and you're now dealing more with the ramifications of him revealing his identity, you're now making better use of them, because this film should have been two halves. The first half is him and Daredevil, and Daredevil trying to navigate a thing for him based on the stuff that has happened, and then the second half is where all the craziness happens with the multiverse and stuff. That's a structure.
No, I agree. And
like I said, but the issue is, again, MCU has to have the jokes and the laughs.
Yeah, the humor.
Daredevil is not a comedian.
No.
Like, and when you watch the Daredevil show, which is why it's going to be weird to see how they incorporate it, because those Netflix shows are very real.
Dark,
they're not like they're not jokes. So how are you not going to incorporate a Daredevil, a Punisher, a Kingpin into, let's joke, because this was a comedy. Like, yes, it was much more of a serious comedy with serious things, but it's still comedy and a lot of laughs. Hence why, like, Daredevil, I don't know how we can incorporate you into what is essentially a comedy for the first half. So
no, I agree. I don't particularly like MCU humor. I think a lot of the humor there's a few laugh splits. It often is quite forced.
I mean, it's like chuckles, like Shang-Chi. I thought that was humorous, but just like chuckles and so forth. Like, which is why I love the Captain America trilogy, because the comedy was well placed, but it had a much more serious tone. So the seriousness and the comedy was better balanced in those 3 films.
Exactly. And speaking of comedy, moving on to the next thing, obviously, Peter in the movie, he basically goes to Doctor Strange. It's like, listen, my life is messed up. I want you to try and help him fix things.
Sorry. Quick entry there. Yeah. Do you know some of his ancestors? They owned slaves.
Yeah. What? Wait, what?
Yeah, Cumberbatch. Yeah.
Wow.
so basically, like, way back, like some of his ancestors, they owned slaves, and then when the thing was being abolished, I think they were given like a few million as compensation for loss of their property.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
By their slaves. And that's why they said, like, when he was studying, they said that you should think of changing your name because people may want reparations from your family. That's a little bit of trivia there, but yeah.
You probably should stick to Doctor Strange then. Yeah. But no, man. I mean, I'm gonna say this, and it might sound like it's always sounding more critical. I love the movie. So the people that are watching actually love the movie. Like,
let's see. This is why it's so much better that we did it this way. Yeah, because we're now building up to the really juicy stuff. So
exactly. But I mean, like, okay, a few things. One, Wong is always out. He just always seems to go out. I don't know why. Like, he just is like, oh, I'm going out. I'm like, bro, like, if you actually stayed here, then maybe this thing wouldn't have happened. Like, you're the responsible dude.
Red, let's be real. Wong is a trash character. And you see, for me, they know he's a trash character, and they know that the character is in a bit of a racist character as well. So they don't really know what to do with him. Because I'm like, wait, why? What are you? And you're right. You're always going. You're always leaving. You always say, "Oh no, I gotta go." I'm like, bro, just chill, wait.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm like, yeah. Look,
you could maybe have like reasons, The other thing as well is that, like, as Doctor Strange almost points out, it's like, yes, okay, he wants to help Peter and stuff, but you're like, bro, like, why don't you just ring them and clarify it? Like, that was the thing.
Sorry, say again.
No, so basically, the reason that Peter goes to Doctor Strange that triggers him is obviously the fallout from the MIT results, because they're like, oh, it's your fault they couldn't get into MIT. To be honest, I think, as a kid and a high school, that's kind of end of the world. But, like, it's not like their lives were threatened. So in my mind, it was like, in the comics, it's like literally like Aunt May, people dying, threat, whatever. Here it's MIT. Fine. It's cool. But the thing is that, as Doctor Strange says, it's like, if that was the only thing, like, why didn't you just give them a ring to just see if you could clap? Why don't you do that first?
Yeah,
give them a ring and speak to them first, and then go to Doctor Strange.
You see, this goes back to the point we made on the previous thing of, like, if there were real ramifications and Aunt May is now in danger, and my friends are in danger because my villains know Peter Parker, they know who Peter Parker is close to. Strange, please remove the energy, because I can't be in a million places at once and also try and actually help people. So let me just go back to the things of where I have a secret identity so that I can keep my guys safe. If it's about, we can't get into MIT now, forget everyone. I'm like, that's a leap.
That's a leap,
bro.
It's just
no. But you see, for me, it's like,
and then you're ruining the spell. Like, actually, when we did the expectation video, I was like, oh, maybe it's Kang. Maybe there's some interruption or something, like, because Peter Parker can't be that dumb. And I'm like, bro, man, you're
but see, for me, the reason why it goes back to expectations. I know what the MCU is. It's a comedy. So the whole thing of MIT and he's not sure, it's a comedy. And it's a comedy about a guy who is a teenager and a very aloof kind of a teenager. So I'm like, okay, all right, fine, cool. So you have to just roll with it when it is what it is. It is about, he's a teenager. These are all teenagers, and these are guys dealing with teenage things and so forth. This is a guy that will make stupid decisions as teenagers would make. So once that is what's presented to you, I'm like, okay, there's no point in me putting off expectations of something that isn't what that is. You have to say, this is what it is. So yeah, it's plays into what would be the most humorous thing. The most humorous thing is, hey, he starts talking, and then that ruins the whole spell because he can decide, okay, you know. So
yeah, it's just it's I guess it sets up the plot and it's fine. So, but like at times I was like, when he's cast the spell and Peter's he just keeps on saying, but what about this person should remember? What about this one? What's this one? You're like, shut up. Please, you're ruining the whole thing. And even Doctor Strange is like, just be quiet, please, the spell. And so, but you know, because of that, because of Peter's, situation, this is where it starts to get real now. This is when
okay, look.
Go on.
So you've obviously seen Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
How did he get a different haircut? Because his haircut wasn't like this. So how is it that he had a different haircut?
I'm just putting it to the fact that when he came into the universe and got the electricity, it kind of jolted the hair molecules.
Oh yeah, so the electricity sort of gave him like
exactly
a perfect lineup and everything.
Fade. Exactly. He was just like, right, got that sort of haircut, fried it, So I think that Jamie Foxx, who plays him, was probably one of the weaker villains. I mean, I didn't like him in Spider-Man 2, and in here he's just kind of
you know what it was? I found it hilarious because it's Jamie Foxx. This isn't like the electric I know. This is literally Jamie Foxx just cracking jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, no, this is hilarious because this is literally Jamie Foxx being himself, cracking jokes.
Exactly.
I was like, okay, fine, okay, all right, let's roll with it, So yeah, like he wasn't acting.
No, he was just. But the other two,
I
think especially Dafoe,
Alfred, Molina. I mean, we'll build up to the Dafoe. So what do you think about? Molina was good though. He was good. I like.
Yeah, I mean,
remember he also played the good side as well.
Yes, exactly. I mean, the start. I mean, obviously, as soon as like they showed Doc Ock coming in the entrance and these swings, and you're like, whoa, okay, that was the moment where you're like, okay, this movie is now going to start to pick up and things are going to start to happen, etc. Now, when I actually watched the trailers, because I only watched the first trailer, in my mind, I thought that was Spider-Man going to be teleported to this different? So I thought maybe he might be teleported to that universe.
Oh, yeah.
So I didn't think that all the characters were going to be teleported to Spider-Man, well, Tom Holland's Spider-Man universe, which is fair enough. But to be honest, that fight scene was one of the best fight scenes in the movie, to be honest. It was good to see, them fighting each other and the banter and stuff like that as well. And he's still got it. It's I think what hit me about Doc Ock and Green Goblin's characters, they're both actors, Willem Dafoe and Thingy.
Quality, see, maybe see, because for me, even speaking of me, where I used to do acting when I was young and so forth, when you're good, you're good.
Yeah,
and it's like you've not played these guys for 15 years or so.
Yeah,
and the way that you so easily go back into the role and you even elevated it to a greater level. I'm like, you know what? That's just quality acting.
Exactly. And it kind of made me think like, oh my goodness, geez, this is why the MCU has sucked.
Yes.
Because one of my big criticisms of the MCU is that one, they kill all their villains, which isn't good. But two, there's not that many interesting villains in the MCU.
They're not.
Like Loki is kind of the only one, sort of, but everyone else.
And also, let me be real with you. Green Goblin's villainy in this supersedes any villain in all the MCU movies. Bro, Thanos is not a villain. Thanos is like, well, maybe from his point of view, he was trying to. Green Goblin, this guy is bad.
Yes.
This is he is just, this guy was, man, this guy is a problem.
And the thing is, we'll talk about it later, but like what I kind of liked is how he played it.
Yes.
Throughout the movie. So he kind of you were led to believe that he was kind of Norman was there and was on his side, etc. And it's only
wait, hold on. See, I'm confused now. So was he always Green Goblin, or was it like a kind of internal conflict?
So I think what happened was that. What do you mean? During the movie?
So basically, when he goes to Aunt May and is like, "Hey, I'm confused," I thought that was genuine.
Yes,
But then he then switches, or was it that Goblin was always in control and he just used the good side as a front?
I think that when he went to, I think that it's an interesting one because
Because I'm not sure.
a part of me says that it was always a front or using as a front because he mentions that he wanted
Actually,
he mentioned
no.
about Peter Parker.
Do you know why it can't be a front? His Spidey sense. So his Spidey sense would have gone off if that element was always there. So his Spidey sense only goes off once the Goblin thing now takes over.
Yeah,
I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Okay. That's fair. I mean, I don't know whether. I definitely think that he somehow manipulated the situation.
Yeah.
Because especially when he says like, "Oh, I'm a scientist," and also how he, because when he's seeing Aunt May, he says that he wants to see Spider-Man. So I'm like, well, how did you? Yeah, I think there was. I think there was an element like where the Green Goblin persona took a seat back and waited to see what happened. But before we even go into, because obviously it gets wild with what happens with him towards the end. Like,
no, but also sorry, quickly as well.
Go on.
So they asked Willem the dafoe, and they said that he didn't want to come back to be a cameo. He says, I'd only come back if I was given a proper role. So he says, no, don't give me a cameo and everything. Bring me back for a particular reason because I'm here to do work. So that's very key.
And this is the thing about this movie where I actually still put Spider-Verse ahead of this movie. And the reason why is that I think from the villain's point of view, even though I love seeing all the villains back, I think it would have worked more into the Spider-Verse setting where you have one overarching kind of villain and then these other sub ones kind of around, that like in the case of Spider-Verse, the overarching villain was Kingpin.
Yeah.
But then you had, the Growler, I think Miles' uncle, you had, the Lady Octavius and a few minor ones.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked. And on top of that, like the villain themselves had a kind of like a motive and understanding.
Yeah.
So whereas here, to be frank, some of the villains that came in, like you get like Electro comes in, you're like, okay, cool, fine. They catch him, they stop him, but like Lizard and Sandman, like
they were like,
what do they didn't do anything?
They didn't do anything.
Even Sandman's character, I'm like, okay, so he comes and he protects him because like, oh, now I'm good. Because in the third movie he turns good. So you're like, okay, fine, he's cool with Spider-Man. But then randomly he's like, oh, I'm evil again because I want to go and see my kid. And you're like, right? Let's pick one. It doesn't make sense, And Lizard, they just kind of, he's smart, and then they just kind of shove him in a van when they...
I think, look, as I said, this film, it is what it is. It was a party. So they're like, look, we have all these villains. Yeah, let's just throw them all in. So, because again, if you're trying to make a film, you can't have all these guys in here. Because really, put it this way, you've got to have Doc Ock, you've got to have Goblin, and now you're going to now pick one of the dudes from Amazing Spider-Man. So maybe you pick a Jamie Foxx or something, but having all these guys and so forth, it's weird, so it's too much.
I mean, one of the things that I did like about this was the they did introduce, like, I guess, an interesting philosophical dynamic about how the fact that, okay, because obviously Strange comes back and they lock Strange away, and he's like, listen, these guys got to go back, and like, okay, fair enough, they've got to go back. But then knowing that if those characters go back, that they will meet their fates at their respective Spider-Man, it's like, oh wow, okay, so I'm effectively sending these guys back to their death. Like, can I live with that? Even though it's dumb.
Which is the beauty of what Goblin represents is villains will always be villains.
Yeah.
That's their nature and that's their core. And also, don't mess with nature. Once you try to mess with nature or mess with fates, you rupture everything.
But that's why I thought it was interesting that they went the tactic of, instead of the sorts of the right, let's catch all the villains, let's beat them up, etc., etc. It's like, the idea of how about actually trying to cure these guys?
Oh, no.
How about trying to help them? How about trying to?
I think no. It was an interesting story angle. It was stupid because that's what you shouldn't do. But it was like, okay, this is actually interesting. I was like, because you knew it was a dumb idea, him doing it. But it was interesting that they tried to go there and say, okay, let's actually try and change their fates.
It's something that I'd expect a teenager, a hopeful teenager, to do. So that's why I was like, I allowed it, because it's kind of like, if this was older, more experienced Spider-Man, then I go, what are you doing, bro? But as a hopeful teenager who wants to make a difference, you obviously got your aunt who's like, listen, we've got to be better. I'm like, okay, this, and on top of that, when in the case of Doc Ock, it was a kind of good idea that he did do that, because had he not, Doc Ock probably still would have been evil, and then towards the end, that would probably have had negative consequences. I don't think that the Spider-Man would have won had Doc Ock been on the side of Green Goblin and all the others. It would have gotten peak, I think, for them, you know. I mean, I don't know. Do you have any other comments about like the villains and how they were portrayed, or like?
I suppose we'll have to move further when we talk about Goblin more, because obviously he does obviously the whole Aunt May thing. So I think we'll talk more about him.
Speaking of Aunt May, bro.
Seriously, does this chick age Marissa Tomei, man? She doesn't age.
I mean, I still find it weird that Aunt May is basically young. I mean, I don't know what happened with her and Happy and what their relationship situation is. It just gets wild, and Happy's on like sleep apnea stuff, and like, I mean, it's a flip. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I think that because obviously as you go into the movie, and it gets deep, and you find out that the Goblin basically, I don't know why they decided to go to their flat apartment and try and get these cures. But Goblin is just like, screw you guys. Like, why are you? And I like Goblin's philosophy, because he's literally like, why are we? You shouldn't hide your power. Your powers are good. They're who you are. Like, you're gods. Be gods. And this is the issue with Spider-Man. And he goes rogue. And I don't know. I just didn't expect her to die.
Yeah.
Because I was like,
I think like you, because it's like, that's a big move. But you see how it's all rhymed though. Because we don't know whether he had an Uncle Ben.
No.
So basically his Uncle Ben is Aunt May. And people's criticism was about, he's never really had and that Uncle Ben was a major catalyst in making him who he was, and so forth. So the fact that he now has this death, that is not going to be a major point in what really forms it. But bro, it's MCU. You see, you think that no one would even die in this. So the fact that they took away Aunt May, literally his only family.
Yeah, exactly.
Bro,
I think that's what made it hit home, because I was kind of like, it's the fact that like they made him an orphan. Like, he literally has nobody.
Yeah, no one.
Like, and at the end of the movie, it's even more, it hits home even more, because like, we'll talk about
you're literally a loner, like literally a loner.
Yeah, and you're just like, because at least in the comics, like, oh, he has Aunt May, oh, he has Mary Jane, he has a sort of leaning support. Whereas here, you're like, no, the dude is literally alone. Like, there is nobody else. Like, no one remembers him, and his aunt is dead. Like, there's no one for him. So how is he going to deal with that? So, but I mean, I was very. I think it was touching. It was nice. I mean, I was still asking things like, bro, why don't you just swing her to the hospital like quickly? I mean, she still might die, but at least try and get her to get some medical attention. I guess I just thought that initially, when she was speaking, it was like, oh yeah, of course, she's the standards. Oh, she's got injured, but she's alive.
Yeah. And they just pulled it through. Yeah.
But the fact that she didn't pull through, and then Peter's response, because after that he's like, bro, I want to kill this. I want to kill.
Yeah. No. Basically, it just
go on.
Like, it just shows you that, like, again, look at the guy that did it. It was Green Goblin from Tobey Maguire's universe. So that even hits some further. So it wasn't even one of the villains from his own universe.
Yeah, exactly.
So you don't have any villains whatsoever. You have to take someone from another universe to be the guy that really dealt the biggest blow to you.
Yeah. No, exactly. And but I mean, in a sense, it's almost poetic from a comic point of view because the Green Goblin is Spider-Man's main
it is.
in the thing. That there's no other. I mean, Kingpin is sort of kind of ish there, but
and I think Kingpin is just sort of like
Daredevil.
It's like, put it this way: Spider-Man's arch nemesis is Green Goblin. His toughest nemesis is Venom.
Is Venom? Yes,
that's the guy that's always beats him up. But like, he's basically Spider-Man and Green Goblin is like Batman and Joker.
Yeah, exactly. I'm sure. I think even he was characterized from the Joker, like this kind of like crazy psychotic personality.
Like that's like because see, Lizard is I think Lizard is one of his first villains, but Lizard is a bit more complex because he knew Connors, he has a history with him, so that's a bit more complex. But Goblins, I don't. This is just like this is your main.
Doc Ock is kind of there, and you know, it's as maybe as a second, and in the comics they kind of explore that a bit. But yeah, no, you're right. That's moving on here.
Bro. Okay. No. Let me ask you this: how big was the cinema? How many people were in the cinema that you watched it in?
Probably about 100, maybe more than that, maybe 200.
So I watched Endgame premiere in like an Odeon Lux and so forth. So when Captain America gets Yoni and so forth, the crowd went insane. Yeah. I don't think I've had a cinema erupt the way it did when Andrew Garfield came through. Jeez. As in, literally, I was like, because I thought the cinema was actually good. I was like, this is people like, oh my god, I knew it, oh my god, I was like, whoa! But the cinema went insane.
Wow,
it went insane. And see, this thing about me is like, look, I'm in two minds. You see, there's my objective film critic mind of like, okay, look, this was
let the fanboy out, man. You gotta let the fanboy out here, HH.
Yeah, because I was Andrew Garfield, I think, is the best Spider-Man. Just seeing him in that, I was like, whoa, this is crazy. And so, do you know how old he looks?
Yes. Hence the back.
This guy looks old.
Back, man, you know. Dude was sort of, but even seeing Tobey, seeing the.
It was no. I mean, like, see, the Into the Spider-Verse of all the Spider-Man things. This is why I've got to watch the film again. Like, my issue with Spider-Verse is I wasn't expecting that. I was expecting it to tell a Spider-Man story. So the Spider-Man thing just caught me off guard. So I said, okay, you know what? Let me just watch the film again. Now expecting that. But with this hits home harder because there's a history of Andrew Garfield. There's a history of Tobey Maguire. So it's not just Peter Parker. It's, this is Tobey Maguire from 2002. This is Andrew Garfield and so forth. So just seeing them come through, I was like, wow. And I think for me, the best part of the whole film was the chemistry.
Yes.
That was easily.
Yes.
Let's see, as somebody who still prefers to see a Spider-Man story in one, I was like, you know what? As much as I want to not like this, I'm like, no, I shouldn't like this, but I don't know. I'm actually enjoying this.
This was where
I felt guilty enjoying something that I feel I shouldn't enjoy because I've always been against having several Spider-Man. There should only be one Spider-Man. But I was like, you know what?
But it's just the humor, the chemistry. I mean, like some of the jokes. Like, I mean, I remember a few things where like they're like, so for example, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield are like, Andrew Garfield and Tom Holland are like, when he makes that like that organic thing, like you make like what, like where else does it come out from? You know, stuff like that. We're like, oh, okay, fine. I could chuckle to that, you know, or the whole.
No. The best thing, and I think again, it's obviously all over YouTube, is when they aren't working together well. And I told him, look, bro, we're not working together. Andrew said, yeah, because we normally work by ourselves. We've never worked in a team. We said, well, I've worked in a team, the Avengers. Like, hey, what is Avengers? Are so
exactly
exist in their old world. Exactly. And then like just how they just sort of combined. You see,
Yeah.
that's why the reason why it works is because, oh yeah, Tobey Maguire is that thing. Oh yeah, Andrew Garfield. So they all bring the whole baggage into it. So
Yeah,
just them as a
exactly.
whole, it was like, okay, you know, and look, it's cool. I mean, it's like, okay, it is what it is. But if see, as you said, you just got to let your fanboys
Yeah,
leave.
no,
See, this way, leave cynicism at the door. And just
exactly.
life is too short. Just enjoy
Exactly.
it. Just enjoy it.
It was, and it was, and like I said, there were so many, seeing them together working in the labs, the interaction with because obviously it's Zendaya and Peter Parker's best friend. I forget his name again. Ned that sort of opens the ring, the magic to actually get them in the first place, and I did like, I mean, the not even just him, but the touching moments, the fact that like when he obviously he's Tom Holland was mourning the loss of Aunt May, how they were able to sort of open up, like, bro, he's like, you don't know how I, even though you're Peter Parker, you don't know how I feel. Like, no, you know how you feel, bro. We carry that cynicism, So
no, actually, so good. Do you know what struck me?
Mm.
Tom Holland's suit is trash. Compared his suits to their suits.
Yes.
I was, because I think that we know when they all sound like, what's it like? Wow, like that's Maguire's suit is damn good. And that Andrew Garfield suit is not bad.
Good, yeah.
And it just made Tom Holland's suits just look so much trash compared to their suits. So
yeah. I also think that
no, but also you also know what the big moment was, man. You know when MJ starts to fall.
Yes. So
people went insane when that happened.
This is what I'm saying. I was like, it was almost like, because the kind of the theme of this movie is almost like
redemption or something, like
redemption.
Well,
like low, like low points or pain, and then redemption. And you saw in this movie where, as you're saying, like MJ's falling, and Tom Holland like goes for him, and then like you're like
Goblin.
okay, and again like typical.
Again, Goblin,
And then the Goblin guy that hits, and you're like, oh no, no.
But actually, we can just pause. I think we have to talk more, because you see now it's coming back to me. Goblin has been more of a villain in this film than in any villain in any MCU film.
Yeah,
like this is my issue with Infinity War and Thanos. What Goblin was in this film is what I wanted Thanos to be in Infinity War, where this guy is a problem, and this guy is really
relatable.
What?
I feel they made Thanos, because in the comics Thanos is just an evil douchebag, But here they made him a bit. I think for the case that the sim is fine, but they did make him a bit too relatable.
Yeah, see, when you can relate to a villain, it removes his villainy. What made Goblin so good is that this guy is just bad. Like there is no explanation or reasoning for what he did. It's just bad. So once that happens, that's a villain. Because a villain, you're not supposed to rationalize with him. You're not supposed to see it from his point of view. It's like, no, this guy's just bad. So
no. But the fact that, like, I mean, I don't know, because you didn't watch Amazing Spider-Man 2, did you?
No, I did.
Oh, you did. Okay, so
no. I didn't watch Spider-Man 3 or the whole of Spider-Man 1.
Oh, okay, fine. Okay, so I sure that you could appreciate that, like, when she's falling,
bro,
and then it's Andrew Garfield, Spider-Man, that obviously saves her. Go on.
Oh, because that's seeing that in a cinema, Amazing Spider-Man 2.
Yeah,
I was like, what? Because you so expected him to save her. Like, I went to look, I'm like, wait, what?
yeah, exactly.
The people were like, wait, what? So that was crazy. So like when he said, no, bro, my cinema went insane, bro. People
he saved her, or when she was falling?
No. When he saved her.
He saved her, yes.
People
because you got it because you're like, redemption, because it's like redemption for Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. So you're like, he couldn't, like, and you saw his emotion when it's like, you okay? It's like, oh, thanks. It's like,
no. Like this film's gonna make a lot of money, man.
Oh yeah.
See, and even we see this was like, even with the pandemic, because obviously I don't think America has the whole Omicron issue as much as in England or other places. But even when I saw the movie, I was like, bro, even with the pandemic, this film's gonna make so much.
It's already breaking box office records in America anyway. Like it's apparently projected to be like I think possibly the third highest grossing MCU movie opening of all
Which is
time.
insane. Basically, my thing is, if there was not a pandemic, you're looking at almost 2 billion.
Yeah.
Like easy. Like based on just the whole nostalgia thing and everything, this would easily do almost 2 billion. But obviously, maybe we'll talk about that afterwards.
Yeah.
How much we make, go on.
Speaking on redemption, I think it was also nice for the redemption part for Tobey Maguire, because obviously Tom Holland goes and finds Norman, and it's like, right, we're gonna settle this, and like he's laying down, he's beating him up, he's like, I'm gonna kill this guy, and he almost does, because he grabs the Goblin glider and he's almost about to like throw it on Green Goblin, because Green Goblin is strong, but gets stronger, and he's about to throw it, and then Tobey Maguire like holds it and says like, stop. And what I just find fascinating is like, again, the redemption, because in the first Spider-Man movie, and so you didn't watch it, it's actually like Norman Osborn is killed by his Goblin Guider, and so because of that, like Harry Osborn loses his father, and he blames Spider-Man, and so on and so forth. So the fact that like he stops Norman from being killed by the glider is almost like, wow, I was actually able, because he didn't want Norman to die, he wanted to save him. So it's like, whoa, I actually stopped Norman from being killed by his glider. I've redeemed myself in that situation. So basically, it was almost like there was good closure for Garfield. It's almost like you've wrapped up the Amazing Spider-Man universe and the Remy universe, because you've given those main characters closure on very key or big decisions that affected those characters.
See, that's why which is why it is so hard to rate this film. Because you can't rate the film as a standalone. The film is basically why the MCU has created this kind of weird, kind of almost new film genre, which claws onto previous films. Because again, if you watch this film without seeing any of the Maguire films or Garfield film, bro, you're like, what is this? Like, basically, it'll be like it will literally be a throwaway film. Like, because it is imperative that you watch those films. Because these certain things hit home. Like, if you didn't watch Amazing Spider-Man 2, that thing with MJ, like, okay, he saved us, so what? Like, wait, why is he crying? Oh, okay,
exactly.
All right, whatever. So it's one of those things of like where like it's the ultimate vibes movie. But do you know what I call it? This movie is like is a moments merchant.
Moments merchant. And to be fair, like, the more that I think about it, the more I'm like, to be honest, I'd rather have more of those types of movies. I'm not saying we should have them in excess, but sometimes it is nice to have that type of movie than to have like a just a really bad reboot, or you try and rejig characters to try and modernize them.
Because
James
this
Bond,
is like this is nostalgia, but with a story behind it. So not like, hey, basically with basically like the whole Daredevil thing. See, that's just like, okay, hey, cameo. But this like, no, Garfield and Maguire, they've now been incorporated into a story. And there is a narrative point as to why they are there. So the points hits home a lot more. So
no, I agree. Now, we're almost kind of because there's obviously a few big things discussed towards the end, but I mean, this is here because it's like, obviously the movie kind of wraps up with Doctor Strange trying to kind of fix things because he's obviously been released, and the only way they're able to fix things is by basically everyone forgetting who Peter Parker is, effectively, and the movie ends with him basically effectively being alone. He goes into friends and she's like, because I felt that, I'm not gonna lie, I felt that when Zendaya MJ was like, come find me, we're not gonna meet together, and he's kind of like, yeah, I'll find you, and then they show the scene and she's just kind of, I just don't know who you are, and then he's like, he has to make a decision. It's like, do I try and become friends with them again, or do I just leave them to enjoy their lives?
like, how do you? Because again, it's like it's happened in such an organic way. Like,
Hmm.
how do you even rekindle that same chemistry, or that
Exactly.
connection that you once had, and so forth? And obviously, you
Exactly.
can't tell them that, hey, you know, we met a wizard who basically erased all of our. But see, now here's my question.
Hmm.
So none of the Avengers know who he is.
So that's the key. So that's the key thing. So
Because my thing is that, so are you saying that what they've now done is all that stuff in Infinity War and everything, Spider-Man wasn't there?
it
Or was
must be
Spider-Man still there, but they don't know that it's Peter Parker?
maybe yes, because the spell, if I understand it, is that like
They know
no one.
Spider-Man, but they don't know it's Peter Parker.
Yeah. So because the spell was that like people should forget who Peter Parker was, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was the spell. So I suspect that people know that Spider-Man exists, but I don't think
They don't
anyone
know the
knows.
identity. So basically,
Yeah,
Peter Parker is like no one knows who Peter Parker is.
exactly. So it's almost like it felt like this was almost like a soft reboot in the sense that you've now got a situation depending on whether Tom Holland comes back or not, who we go, what
Oh,
happens.
no. Like what's it called? Amy Pascal, the Sony exec, said that there are going to be more films with him.
Fine, okay.
Oh.
So, but it's almost like they're now, whether they're doing it as a way to say, right, okay, we're going to go on. It felt like they're almost going more of like, right, we're going to take him into more of an individual direction.
Yeah.
Then he's going to be heavily tied to different, like the last 3 movies where Doctor Strange is here, Iron Man is here, this person is here. It's like, no, we're going to focus on Spider-Man because we've essentially cut off all of his connections. Because now no one knows he's Peter Parker. He has no Aunt May. You know, he doesn't really have any friends. So it's really a blank play. Like anything can happen with this character now, basically. But I suspect, based on a certain post-credit scene, that they're going to be going down that particular angle and taking advantage of that. In fact, let's just get
it. Yes, this was this. Do you know this is what made me the happiest. Do you know why I was so happy? That bomb-ass trash piece of crap, Tom Hardy Venom, has now gone back to his universe.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
but the symbiote remains.
Yes,
which means that there's going to now be a Venom for this world.
Exactly.
Because you see, my fear was that, oh boy, like they're now going to have Tom Hardy's weird, quasi messed up Venom. I was like, but no, that's not how Venom is. So hopefully now, cool, stay in your trash universe and so forth. You're not going to now, hopefully, they're going to now have a new Venom, which is now the proper Venom.
Was that
maybe this is now? So if you're not going to do, like, let's say another 3 films, Venom is now his antagonist for the next 3 films. So the next film is about now building up who Eddie Brock is.
Yeah.
And maybe you now see Venom. Maybe he now becomes Venom at the very end of the first film. So basically, I'm like, oh, bro, this is great. You can now hopefully, fingers crossed, now do a proper. Because you know what I've always said. You know, this is my number 1 villain in comic books.
Venom.
Like,
okay,
I've never liked the Joker. Like, Venom has always been like, no, because like the look, the design, what it looks like, and how much he's an antagonist for us. I was like, bro, and Spider-Man 3. That's why I didn't watch that piece of crap. I'm like, because Raimi, he didn't want to do Venom. They forced upon him. That's why it's one that's trash. And Red, I cannot. You know, I was actually going to do a video on this because I'm trying to find the emotions to do it. I can't put into words my hate for that Tom Hardy Venom film, for those films. The way that they have bastardized and I know what makes it worse is how much money it makes and how successful it is. So it makes it even worse. But my thing is that, again, I just don't know what I'm saying. Things are set up in a very good position because my thing is now there's no Iron Man, there's no Strange. He's now a lone dude now. So therefore, he now has more agency. He's grown up a lot based on what has happened. So now you can now have a more grown-up Peter Parker.
Exactly.
And this is the kind of Peter Parker that now can go up against, because the Peter Parker in Homecoming or Thingy can't go up against Venom. Do it.
No.
Like
no, he's a kid.
Yeah,
except the one in the animated series, but that was a bit different. There was not the old school one, but the Spectacular Spider-Man. If you watch that, it's
Oh
one of the more recent ones. But that was actually quite good. But yeah, I see your point.
But have you seen the one from the 90s? The
Yeah,
Fox
so I've seen the 90s one. Yeah, there was a 90s one, and there's a recent one that was released in the mid called Spectacular Spider-Man. But it was good writing stuff. So, but yeah, no, I see. I mean, I almost think that this is almost the right time for because the whole point of I think Venom coming in or what was that it almost fed up to a certain extent on Peter's like negativity.
Yeah.
And I think that Peter is and on top of that, like it's a symbiote. So it's almost like it's a living organism, So I think it's almost like Peter will want that company. So if anything, it'll be interesting to see how Peter becomes so reliant and dependent on the symbiote, being that it's the only thing that's going to be there for him in his life.
So you're saying that maybe what happens is, because my thing is, so how do you make that a film? So if you're saying that like the film,
so essentially, I would
the symbiote now goes to him. He's now evil.
Not evil, but I think because in the comics, he's not. He doesn't actually he's not actually. Or doesn't start in quote evil. Like he lives with it. It's only really towards maybe the.
But Red, come on. This is Disney. You're not gonna allow a sweet little Tom Holland to be this edgy dude that feeds off negativity and so forth.
I mean, it'd be interesting to see how long he kept the suit for, basically. Because I'd like to think that like he didn't just wear it for like a quarter of the movie and then he rips it off like that was one of my issues with Spider-Man 3 was that like you should have used it in a way where like it's a gradual taking over. And actually, referencing Spectacular Spider-Man, by the way, that's why if you have any time, watch that series. It's probably on Netflix. It's actually one of the best Spider-Man series I've ever watched because what it does is that it's not just he wears it and then he becomes evil. It's like no, he's still Spider-Man. He's just that his personality changes some, but it's a gradual deterioration that you just realize. And then actually, what happens is that like you find out that he gets rid of Venom because it ends up being a battle in his mind between his relationship with Venom and his relationship with his Uncle Ben. And they kind of have a fight in their mind, and then that's how he kind of gets rid of it. So that's kind of where I'd like to see them go with this Tom Holland character, in that it's not just like a 30-minute, I've got it, and then I don't have it anymore. But that they at least carry it. And also, what was great about the comics was that you saw that interaction with the other Avengers. Yeah. So he was like, so it wasn't just he's schoolmates. It was like, oh wow, Peter Parker's got a new suit. He's black, like and some people liked him, some people didn't. So it'd be interesting to see his interaction with, I don't know, Thor or the Guardians, etc., and that new Peter Parker personality, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I mean, it'd be to see what. So I mean, are you saying that they introduced Eddie Brock into that film?
So yeah, so I think
as a character,
as I would have it, so they would.
You know what? Basically, the issue Spider-Man 3 is remember you had Sandman, you had Goblin, and you had Brock. So if you have the film where it's Eddie Brock, it's Peter Parker, and you build up with the Eddie Brock character of he is obviously. So you can have a thing of where Peter Parker is growing up, and this is now where he becomes a photographer. Exactly. And he now gets a job working as a photographer because he can take pictures of this Spider-Man guy and everything and so forth. And he's now competing with Eddie Brock. Yeah. And Eddie Brock is pissed off because Peter Parker is pretty much always getting the kind of gigs that he normally wants to get. And Eddie Brock sort of is a little bit uneasy about himself. So you can add more juice and weight into the Eddie Brock character. So when he now becomes Venom at the end,
you could easily make a trilogy of Spider-Man and Venom from the whole.
That's what I said. Like my thing is that that symbiote thing this is a godsend because this perfectly sends up a thing of like this is such a, and also you end it with Carnage. Yes, exactly. Not which he's even crazier.
I was so disappointed. I watched the Venom 2 Carnage. I mean, I loved the only thing.
When I saw that piece of crap, bro, I was like, get this piece of crap off.
I love the design. I love the design of Carnage. I love the sort of he looked like Carnage. I was like, good, great. That's if you could just get. And the thing is, Woody Allen isn't a bad actor. It's just it's the script, man.
No,
It's the
it's no.
script.
Woody
The
Harrelson
script.
is, bro. Tom Hardy is a bloody good actor.
Yeah.
But
How
if
they...
if the director says this and the actor says this, it is what it is. You have to go via the direction, via the sort of the film and what the director is directing you to freaking do. So it is what it is. But like, and
But
do you know
you have to have carnage in the
what
MCU
is even
process.
painful? Imagine Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock done properly.
Properly, yeah.
That is an amazing antagonist. And I imagine Woody Harrelson done properly with Carnage. That's even a more amazing thing. But you know, actually, see, I don't know what his name is. Because there is an actor. Maybe I'll try and share this. So no, keep talking. I'll try and share this afterwards.
No. So I was actually going to move on to, I guess, the final cut scene, which wasn't really a post-credit scene, but more of like a trailer, basically, for this movie, the Multiverse of Madness thing, where obviously the ramifications of this movie, Doctor Strange, fractured things. It was good to see what's his name, the actor that plays Mordo. Black guy.
Is it that Chiwetel? No,
yes,
is that Chiwetel Ejiofor?
Schulte,
No,
yeah.
Matt Mikkelsen.
No, is it Schulte?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Yes, Ejiofor, yeah. For who plays Mordo, because he hasn't been here since the original Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
But to be honest, the biggest thing about this trailer, aside from just like the few things as a comic book fan like that I'm like picked up, I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. Shumagorath, a few kind of interesting things. But I think the big thing that I was like, wait, what? Was that at the end, like when it's like the biggest danger is you, and they show that kind of an evil looking Doctor Strange, and I was like, but that's the evil Doctor Strange from What If? So I was like, are you mean to tell me that they took the What If animated evil Doctor Strange and put him into the MCU?
You know, I still haven't seen What If yet.
What If? So sorry for the spoilers there, bro.
Sorry. Oh no, this is cool. No, that's fine. I mean, like, I'll watch out, but yeah, like.
So watch So what I would say is there's a What If episode.
So I mean, like, what's the general idea? Like, okay, so there's a What If episode where he's the.
Yeah, so basically what happens is there's a What If episode which basically says, what if Doctor Strange didn't lose his hands, he lost his heart. So effectively what happens is that, like, instead of like his basically his girlfriend gets, when they're in the car together when they're driving, like his basic girlfriend gets killed basically, but he survives. Not his hands, which is in the main, which he can't be a surgeon anymore. So in this universe, basically, he follows the same path as Doctor Strange, where he goes to the Ancient One and gets magic and stuff. The purpose of it is to try and bring back his girlfriend, but they keep on saying that like he can't do it. It's like a nexus point, i.e., it can't be changed. You know, so he has to. So basically, long story short of it is that like he's obsessed with bringing his girlfriend back by any means. And so what he does is he just absorbs like all of the different magical characters and entities into himself to get more and more and more and more powerful, so that he can then basically bring this person back. And and it's not just good energy. It's like it's all these different demons, magic. So the more he gets, the more corrupt and obsessive he becomes. It's actually quite a dark episode, and then eventually,
no, because I mean, what's that? Yeah, because I'm going to renew my Disney Plus thing.
It's probably the best episode out of them all, because it ends up with basically just him, just like getting things pop off, and his universe gets when it gets crazy. But basically, he gets saved by the Watcher.
They've taken that What If episode as inspiration for.
No, not even that. Taking the What If episode, I think that because
incorporated it.
Yeah, what I think is that I heard that What If was part of the MCU canon, right? So I think what they've done is it's not just they've incorporated, inspired. They've taken the character literally from that episode and put him in to the MCU. That's what was mad about this, because like I can't remember an animated character being taken in from episode and then being put in as a live action. So he's got that backstory already.
Okay.
Am I making
Yeah.
sense?
But I
So
think that's it. I need to just watch the what's it
the
episodes
episode,
so that I have like a better idea.
yeah.
So if you just
As
share
this,
my screen. So I don't know whether you've seen this actor before. I think he's Jason Clarke. He'd be my pick for Eddie Brock.
Fine.
He'd be my pick for Eddie Brock. Like if you see some of his stuff, I think he was in Planet of the Apes. There's this thing called Lawless with Tom Hardy.
Yes. Yeah.
But I think you probably know him from Planet of the Apes. Yeah, I mean, because my thing now, bro, just starts clean slate. Leave that piece of trash Venom back there. Clean slate, a good proper Eddie Brock. Make that a new trilogy. Him against Venom.
No, I agree. I think they need.
Because I think what happened is the idea is he basically forms a new relationship with obviously MJ and Ned, completely new, and that obviously now starts from almost scratch and everything. But like, because just like how, and he may sometimes slip up because it's like she's like, wait, how do you know that's about me? Wait, how do you know that about me? How do you know that about me? Because because I freaking know you. So it'd be interesting to see how that happens. But yeah,
no, I agree. Fair. I think, bros, that's it pretty much in terms of. I mean, we're gonna obviously have a live hangout.
Yeah,
but
a live hangout where we
week,
could just go crazy and just talk.
Yeah.
See, but my thing though is what's I gonna say how much money do you think it makes in a pandemic?
A lot. Well, the thing is that's what people saying that like it's almost proving this kind of pandemic thing aside because it's smashing records in terms of initial opening sales because it's not had a weekend yet.
Yeah,
like we're waiting for the weekend.
No, I think they said in the UK it's like one of the biggest opening days ever, which was the Wednesday because it opened in the UK on the Wednesday. So that's like one of the biggest opening days that the UK has ever had.
Yeah, exactly.
And you know these kids don't care about Omicron, man.
No,
so, like,
but also, it just shows that like when there's a highly anticipated movie, like people are gonna. So
what's it called? Fast and Furious, I think, made 700 million.
This is gonna make. I think it's gonna make more than Fast and Furious. I think.
Oh no! See, if Fast and Furious made 700 million, still with the pandemic still there. See, one thing that does this make a bill?
I mean, there are going to be a lot of people that are going a second and third time. I'm even going to see it.
My thing is that all I'm thinking, all that's in its way is the pandemic. But my thing is that there are guys that are going to be like, I don't give a freaking damn. There are people who are going to watch like 5, 6, 7 times.
Exactly.
Based on the nostalgia factor. Because I said to myself that 800 max or 850. But if I put in mind that, see, my thing is that it's just like, I think Star Wars made like $1 billion just in America. Force Awakens. So let's say, because I think Europe is the one that's really dealing with the whole Omicron thing. I don't know whether it's that big in America. But you know, Americans, these guys, especially these guys, they don't give you a crap. So their guys are going to watch it like 7, 8 times. So I'm still going to say it makes 850. Still going to say it makes 850. But, bro, like, especially if you grew up with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, and so forth, this is something that you can just watch and repeat. Because I've just been looking at the reviews on Twitter, and guys are like, "Oh my gosh, I cried so much. This is so amazing. This is fun. This is amazing. This is incredible." I'm like, because I think one guy said like, there was a post that said that is The Dark Knight better than every MCU movie? I'm like, screw you. The 3 Captain America movies are better than that trash. And the guy said, "Oh no, I think No Way Home is better." And I said, "Here's the thing: Dark Knight may be technically better." Bro, I had more fun with No Way Home than Dark Knight. I didn't enjoy the dark. It's not for me. I find that it's a bit boring. I didn't enjoy that film.
Okay,
but this, there are a few flaws here and there as we saw, but this was more like that. You see, my best cinema experience is still probably Endgame.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I agree.
But this probably is close second. But Endgame was crazy because I think Endgame is because I watched it opening night with obviously a crowd of fanboys. It made it special. But bro, and also remember, this is in the UK. Remember, people don't shout in the UK. People
no.
so
Yeah, exactly.
Imagine what guys are doing in America.
In the US,
Imagine
I see
what I would
reactions,
pay for a
audience
New York
reactions.
screening of this.
I see your audience reactions already uploading on YouTube, and everyone's just literally like, I'm like, bro, I hope these guys aren't having heart attacks in the theater, because especially when I think there's a scene when like literally all three Spider-Man are
Oh yeah,
swinging to the
no.
thing, and they make that
Listen,
pose, and you're just like,
no. People will lose their minds. And
mm,
see, frankly, it's a good thing that we actually remembered it. Spoilers.
mm,
What an amazing, because in the second trailer, obviously you
mm,
didn't see this in the second trailer, Sony and Marvel, they were trying to decide whether to put Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield in the second trailer.
mm.
And it's so good that they didn't.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's Spider-Man. Guys are going to go anywhere.
Mm,
Now, there are people who don't have a Twitter account. They don't
yeah,
have a Facebook account. They're not online. So
yeah,
imagine just going into there, not knowing
mm,
anything,
mm,
and you just see Tobey Maguire show up. You're
yeah,
like, what the hell?
yeah,
That would be amazing. See,
yeah,
if let's say this came out in the 90s, where this was pre-internet, all we had was like magazines and like having to watch the movie shows on TV, and you went in not knowing anything, bro. It an amazing experience. But see, the issue is that we live in a world where it's the world of clicks and
mm,
views.
mm.
Wait, do you know this guy called John Campion?
Yes, I know him. Yes, yeah.
Do you know this guy? He apparently had like exclusive pics because it
Mm,
was him who basically leaked the pics of Daredevil and so forth.
mm-hmm,
And I'm like, bro, you are one of the biggest YouTubers out there.
mm.
Why would you? And he said, oh, he didn't. He said he didn't know that they were real. He thought they were fake.
Mm.
I was like, bro, I was like, why would you even put that out there? Even if you think
Yeah,
that, why would you even put that out there?
put it out there. Yeah.
You should want people to go in there, but because people are so hungry for views and hungry for clicks and traction, they want to be there. Because my thing is this and that. Who would have? Someone obviously took a photo of Andrew Garfield and all of them on that scaffolding.
Mm,
Why would you give that to anybody?
mm.
Because my thing is, I'm sure that's what I said, guys. Please, no. Because you see, my thing is that
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
how does that get out? Because my thing is, I'm sure the rest would say no photos.
It's too big. I think the movie's just too big for it to. That's the problem. There's so much.
See, it goes to my issue that it just shows you that like people get more excited with this is gonna happen than bro. Let me just. I know when some people, but man, let people just see this and be surprised. Imagine if we had no idea. We're like, oh, we're just gonna watch that, and that happens, bro. But see, if let's say I walked in and I had no idea that Garfield or Maguire, bro, my mind about like, what the hell?
I mean, this is why
it would actually blow my mind.
I mean, this is why I try to avoid. I mean, because I mean, I didn't know, but I kind of expected it just based on seeing the other villains from the other universes. But this is why I try these days. If there's a movie I'm anticipating, I often try and limit myself to one trailer, often the original trailer, and then I basically just stop watching because, like you said, like more often than not, especially with certain movies, like I think what was the trailer I watched recently? It was some sort of space movie they're releasing next year, and they showed it in the cinema, and I was like, you basically showed me essentially a summary of the entire movie.
Oh yeah.
Why do I need to watch the movie? Like you spoiled it, so there's no real point. So yeah, trailers often reveal too much, and when people can just leak stuff all the time, it just makes it difficult. So yeah, I prefer the simpler time when you just found out what you're watching when you got to the movie, and if it was garbage, it was garbage.
Yeah, like you would go into a film not knowing anything,
Yeah.
and you see, and I think it's hard to explain this to people. So for these kids, they don't have any concept of like going into a film not knowing anything. They grew up in a world where you're on the internet all day, and you're just used to leaks. And for them, they're just like, hey man, I know what happened. Say, I know this is happening, so I'm going to just share this with everyone. So the concept of the movie going experience of not knowing anything, it doesn't mean anything to these kids. So they're like, hey, I'm just going to ruin this for everyone because I know you don't know. I know it's maybe it's just a generational thing, man. Where it's like there's just a lack of appreciation of not knowing. and you generally being surprised by the things that happen. People just want to ruin that surprise, which is weird.
Yep. No, I don't disagree. Right, guys who are watching, thank you guys who are watching. Will be watching. Obviously, this is pre-recorded, but we are going to be doing a live hangout discussion.
Yes,
It'll
sir.
be open so that we can get everyone involved and just basically just divulge like the good stuff. But hopefully everyone enjoyed this pre-recorded live discussion. Make sure you leave your comments below. Obviously, this is spoilers again.
Spoilers.
So avoid the comments if you
I
can,
mean,
man.
do you know what? I'd laugh if like someone made a comment below and it's like, oh man, you just ruined the whole movie for me, man.
Like, you've been warned, guys. You've been warned, man. Have a nice day, everyone. HH.
Peace.
It was a pleasure, man. Cheers.
Peace.